I originally wasn't going to rush this video, seeing how Dragon's Dogma isn't out until April, but Capcom seems to be worried people might post informed reviews. And since in this case a well-informed review is a negative review, I can see where they're coming from. Pre-orders for the Switch version are up, and you better get on those if you really want Devil May Cry 5 running at 360p 20. I'm here to tell you that no matter what you're looking for in this open-world action RPG, there are already far better alternatives on the Switch that you could play right now. Before getting into the big stuff, there are a couple of little things here and there that are worth mentioning. The soundtrack is very, very good. Pawns talk too much.
Don't
stop! We're exposed here! Help me! What a gap.
Anytime. On my way!
A million or 50 years ago or so, a guy and his loyal guys go to kill a dragon, but they fail. Then you make your character in a very much acceptable character creator. Then your village gets attacked by a dragon. We haven't seen any dogmas yet, though. After fighting the dragon, or in my case, standing next to it, your idiot character goes for the kill, deals 1 point of damage and dies, but then doesn't die because if a dragon eats your heart, you can't die anymore. The wiki says the Arisen can still die in battle, and I know this is magic and stuff, but without a heart, there's no blood pumping through your body, which means you don't need blood anymore, right? And if you don't need blood, you don't need any of your internal organs, save for the brain for the purposes of motor functions. So only hits to the head should kill. And you don't need to breathe anymore, and your body should never get tired, unless the dragon's magic can replace your current heart's functions with some kind of magic implant that accurately mimics your blood flow. Anyway, my point is the story and lore don't make sense right from the very beginning. I'm not going to spoil anything past the first few missions of the game, in case you've already decided on wanting to play it, but I'll tell you right now, it does not get better. It feels like the developers were playing trope bingo, throwing in everything they could think of, which is not a lot, whenever they felt like it, without any logical build-up or consequences. To keep it spoiler-free, imagine walking into town, then a cutscene happens in which it is implied you ran over the king's dog, and you're declared #1 enemy of the kingdom. Then the cutscene ends, and you're just standing there, and the events are never brought up again. Not even the king remembers any of it. It honestly made me wonder if any of it actually happened and I was supposed to question my character's sanity, or my own. If you want to play a weird Japanese game with an equally awkward translation and equally silly but actually well-presented story, Final Fantasy VII will be out soon. Take a look at that one instead. I also heard good things about Final Fantasy IX, but I haven't played it yet. If you've already played those, South Park Fractured But Whole has an excellent combat system, and 10 hours in, a surprisingly well-told story so far, so that's another good one, I guess. We all like making fun of Ubisoft's ridiculous open worlds with hundreds of bits of busywork everywhere, but you know what's even funnier? An open world with no busywork anywhere. Better yet, an entirely empty open world that contains 3 settlements and 2 dungeons, all of which are at least 20 minutes apart from one another. If it wasn't for the infuriatingly small stamina meter making sprinting a luxury, I wouldn't have gone off on that whole blood tangent earlier. On top of that, the fast travel is a clunky mess reliant on semi-consumable items that I tried to use as little as possible, because making a mistake managing your inventory can set your fast travel point to the opposite end of the map, and then you're pretty much screwed. The biggest mistake you can make in this open world game is trying to explore. One time, And only one time I tried to have fun by just going off into the mountains to see what I can find. That was before I knew how the battle system really works. So I traveled and traveled, finding a couple of crafting materials and healing herbs, nothing spectacular. But I was sure that reaching the top of the mountain would reward me with some high-level gear. It's an RPG, of course there's something cool up there. I encountered a chimera. I had fought one of these in the tutorial, so I already knew what I was doing. Avoiding its attacks was easy enough, and I've been waiting for another chance to climb around on a big monster, since that's the best part. But that's where math, as it does, ruins everything. The biggest mistake I see people make is comparing Doggo's Dragma to Dark Souls. That's what I thought I was in for. But despite these two looking very similar, they have nothing in common whatsoever, which comes down to this simple formula. Now, at first, this seems obvious. Defense reduces damage. Of course. I honestly never really thought about the intricacies of damage calculation before, so you're forgiven for not seeing the problem right away. See, most games designed by sane people have defense act as a percentage-based decrease to damage, like 100 points of defense mean 25% less damage, for example. You hear that, Capcom? You're making FromSoft look sane. That's why, in Dark Souls, no matter how little damage you do, so long as you can avoid enemy attacks, you will eventually defeat any boss. Watch all of Zero Lenny's videos if you haven't already.
What's up, suckers? Welcome to Wrestle with the Lenny in the Thunderdome ring.
Dragon's Dogma system means that if you have 5 attack and you're fighting a rat with 5 defense, no matter how skilled you are, your sword just bounces off of the mighty beast. So any notion of going out of your way to track down high-level monsters to get an early boost in XP or items is completely thrown out the window. If you do not go where the devs want you to go, you will uselessly flail away at anything that has a higher level than you do, which will be most things. And I know what you're thinking. If I can sneak my way past the big baddies, I can get awesome gear to compensate for my level and can take that dragon downtown that way. That's real cute. 50% of your damage comes from your base stats, so even with a better weapon, you'll have to grind for levels anyway. My point is, Dragon's Dogma is not a skill-based game. You will look at the horizon, shake your head, and stay on whatever path the game wants you on. You'll grind for stats and weapon upgrades and like it. And hey, maybe you do like it. Come home from work, put a can of ravioli in the microwave, and grind away while your kitchen burns down. You don't care about the story and don't mind the actual literal worst escort missions that I have ever seen. If you like grinding in a 20% skill, 80% stats game, Warframe is free. It's stylish and satisfying. The devs actually listen to feedback and monetize the game fairly, and the community is just plain delightful. Dragon's Dogma, though, is a massive disappointment and not worth buying. 2 boars out of 5, so I guess I have a rating system now.